Not all marks are visible. Some find you in silence, in the shift of a shadow, in the way your name feels heavier when spoken aloud. It starts slow, a dream, a glance, a silence too thick. The world tilts by degrees. You begin to feel it. Not fear exactly, but knowing that something has seen you, chosen you, marked you. And once that happens, reality doesn't break. It bleeds through mirrors, through sleep, through the eyes of strangers. These are not symptoms. They are signs. 5 of them. And if you recognize even one, then it's already begun. You feel seen, but not in a good way. Asterisk, asterisk. You enter a room and something shifts. Not the lighting, not the temperature. Something else. Something beneath the obvious. The air seems to bend, thicken, just enough for your body to register before. Your brain catches up. People glance. Not admiration, not envy, not desire. It's something more primitive. Curiosity, maybe? Suspicion? Tension? Like they're trying to place you in a memory they don't consciously remember. You haven't said a word. You haven't done anything wrong. But somehow you've already made the room nervous. And you feel it, not in your skin, but under it. Like your energy walks in ahead of you, speaking in languages your mouth doesn't know. It's not paranoia. It's not insecurity. It's perception heightened, sharpened. It's unwilling to dull itself for comfort. Because once you've been marked, and yes, you have, you stop blending in, even when you try. Especially when you try. You start noticing it everywhere. Cashiers who won't meet your eyes or can't stop looking. Strangers holding your gaze a few seconds too long. Kids pointing. Dogs growling, mirrors reflecting something a little off. Like your presence bends light, however subtly you try to write it off. Coincidence, overthinking. But it happens too often, too consistently to ignore. There's a weight to your visibility now. As if you're glowing. Not brightly, but strangely. Not in the visible spectrum, but in one meant for different kinds of sight. You're no longer just a person. You're a signal. And the ones meant to receive it, they find you. Every time. Maybe it started after something ended. A relationship. A loss. A sudden rupture in your life. Or maybe it began quietly, the way rot spreads beneath perfect fruit, invisible until it's too late. Either way, it started. And now, the world treats you differently. You feel eyes on you in empty hallways. People flinch before you speak. Some are drawn in without understanding why. Others avoid you, as if your presence is a warning. You begin to question what changed. Was it something you did? A path you took? Pact you made? Intentionally or not? Or maybe you were never supposed to be invisible in the first place. Maybe you were always marked, and now the veil has thinned just enough for the consequences. To catch up, there's a pattern to this kind of visibility. Not fame, not recognition, spiritual exposure. An energetic fingerprint that stands out in a world full of blurred identities. And while some see light when they look at you, others see something they don't have the language for. To the unaware, it's discomfort. To the sensitive, it's familiarity. To the malevolent, it's opportunity. Because being marked isn't about popularity, it's about access. You've become accessible to forces that move sideways through reality. Forces that don't need doors to enter. They come through glances, through thoughts that aren't yours, through people who say the right things with the wrong eyes. When you've been marked, it changes your relationship with silence. Rooms feel full even when they're empty. Your reflection sometimes lags. Just a second too long? Electronics glitch? Lights flicker. And always those eyes. Watching. Not physically. Not always. But percent. The world becomes a theater, and you're not the actor. You're the flame friends might not understand. They'll tell you it's anxiety, or that you need rest. You're just imagining it, but deep down, you know better. You've felt the difference between attention and detection, between being seen and being read. This isn't about ego. This is about frequency, about vibration, about being on a spiritual channel most people can't even tune into. Sometimes you'll wish you could shut it off. turn the glow down, disappear even, but the mark doesn't fade. It grows. The more aware you become, the louder your signal gets. You'll learn to cloak it temporarily. Silence your energy. Avoid the places that feel too thin. Avoid the people who smile with their teeth, but not their spirit. But it's always there. Because once you've been seen by the wrong eyes, you can never fully go unseen again. Still, there's power in this kind of visibility if you survive the first phase of it, because to be seen in this way means you're awake. And once you're awake, you can see them too. Not just spirits or entities, but energies, agendas, mimics, hunters, people who wear human like a costume. You learn discernment the hard way. You stop explaining yourself. You start trusting your unease. Not all attention is admiration. Not all recognition is safe. It's not all. Light is holy, so when the room changes as you enter, and the glances burn instead of warm, pause, breathe, listen. Not with your ears. With your field, feel the currents, the shifts. The message is passed in silence. Because if you've been marked, you are no longer just seen. You are watched. And being watched is the first sign that something has chosen you, that something's waiting to see what you become. Your dreams turn strange, heavy, or repetitive asterisk. Asterisk at first. It's subtle. You wake up tired, not just physically, spiritually. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't live in the muscles. It settles behind the eyes, in the gut. Of you that don't have names, you open your eyes and everything feels off. Like you lived an entire other life while your body rested. And maybe you did, because when you've been marked, the war doesn't wait for daylight. It begins in the dark, in the quiet hours when the veil thins, and your subconscious becomes open territory. You start having dreams that loop. You walk down the same hallway every night. You open the same door, find the same room, sometimes empty, sometimes full of people who know your name, but you don't know theirs. You dream of places you've never been, but somehow remember. You feel the weight of memories that aren't yours. You recognize wallpaper, furniture, shadows, as if you left something behind there in another timeline. You try to wake up, but you can't. And when you do, your hands still feel heavy, like they're carrying something invisible. Some nights the dreams shift from strange to hostile. Rooms with no exit, stairs that never end, phones that ring but never connect, eyes watching you from the corner, voices whispering things that make your skin crawl, not because of what they say, but because of how they say it. Sometimes it's your name, but not spoken, hissed, like the syllables are being remembered, not called. Other times it's in symbols, numbers that repeat, clocks that skip time, mirrors that show your face doing something your body ends. You're trying to tell yourself it's just a dream, but deep down you know better, because dreams this loud aren't random. They're messages, they're markers, they're invitations. When you've been marked, your sleep becomes communal. You're no longer alone in your head. Something is watching. Something is speaking. And whether you asked for it or not, you're listening. Maybe it started with a nightmare, one you dismissed at first, chalked it up to stress, bad food, a horror movie you forgot you watched. But then it came again, until the dreams became a second life, a parallel existence where the laws of physics warp, but the emotions feel real, to real pain that lingers after you wake. Fear that clings like a wet sheet, words you don't understand echoing through. The day-like background radiation, you tell someone, they say everyone has bad dreams. They say it's your brain processing things. But you know the difference between a brain loop and a soul signal. You know the difference between stress and something reaching through the veil. You felt the temperature drop in your room for no reason. You've heard the hum, not in your ears but in your bones. You've seen the shadow in your peripheral vision right as you wake. This isn't insomnia. This is intrusion, because the subconscious is not just a dreamscape. It's a battleground. And when you've been marked, the war moves there first. It's safer for them. You're vulnerable. Your defenses are low. Everything is metaphor, which makes it harder to decode. But the symbols are real. The architecture of your dreams begins to change. You notice recurring elements? A house that's yours, but not. A stairwell that descends forever. A presence that knows you. A choice you're asked to make again and again, but never complete. These aren't just fragments. They're tests, or worse, rituals. Sometimes you see versions of yourself, but they're wrong. They move wrong. They speak with voices you've never heard come from your own mouth. Sometimes they watch you. Sometimes they warn you. And sometimes they try to pull you deeper into that liminal space where waking becomes impossible and surrender becomes natural. You wake gasping, heart pounding. But you're not afraid of the dream. You're afraid of how familiar it felt. As if some part of you wanted to stay and then come to bleed-throughs, daytime moments that don't belong to this world, a voice saying your name when no one's home, a sudden wave of nausea walking past a mirror, déjà vu so intense it makes you sit down. Dream logic begins to infect waking life. You forget conversations. You see people staring at you like they recognize you from somewhere else. Maybe they do, because when you're marked, you exist on multiple layers. And the dream world is just one doorway of many. The worst part? You can't just stop sleeping. You have to go back. Night after night, you return to the same landscapes, the same corridors, the same silent watchers. You try lucid dreaming. Try protective rituals. Some help. Some make things worse. Because sometimes the thing watching you wants to be noticed. And acknowledgement is consent. But there's power here too. Because what hunts you in dreams, it also fears you waking up. Inside them, realizing what you are, what you can do, you are not powerless. Not even here. Yes, the dreams are strange. Yes, they're heavy. Yes, they repeat. But repetition is how you learn a language. In these dreams, we're trying to teach you something. Learn it, because the next time you fall asleep, you might not just be dreaming. You might be remembering. You start losing light quietly, asterisk, it doesn't hit you all at once. That's what makes it dangerous. That's what makes it effective. There's no crash, there's no scream, no cinematic breakdown. Just a soft, constant dimming, like someone turned the switch down a few notches and kept walking. You tell yourself you're tired. It's been a long week, a long month, long season of your life. But deep down, you know the difference between exhaustion and drain. This isn't burnout. This is bleed dash out. You still do the things, still go to work, still reply to messages, still show up for people. But it feels like your body is doing the living while your soul is. Observing, detached, quiet, distant, like the light in your chest has grown too faint to feel, but not faint enough to set off alarms. You don't collapse, you fade, and no one notices. It's not right away. Because that's the thing about being marked. It doesn't always come with violence. Sometimes it comes with erosion, a slow, deliberate wearing away of your inner world. It starts with the little things. You stop reaching for music, stop craving your favorite foods, stop laughing. The way you used to, full-bodied, involuntary, you begin to speak less. Not out of shyness, because the effort of forming words suddenly feels enormous. Your thoughts grow muffled, like they're echoing through fog. And when joy does visit, it's brief, thin, and flickering, like a candle in a cold room. You try to force it. You push yourself to be social, be creative, be present. You post something bright, you make plans, you smile, but it doesn't reach your eyes. Because your energy is no longer coming from within. It's borrowed, artificial. A performance for a world that won't notice the difference. At least. Not yet. And when you return home, you collapse. Not from physical exhaustion, but from the soul weariness of pretending to still be here. You start needing more sleep, but wake up feeling less rested. You lose track of time, not in a dreamy, romantic way, but in a way that scares you. Entire days blur together. Memories skip like scratched vinyl. You open your mouth to describe what's happening, but find yourself saying, I don't know how to explain it. Because how do you explain unseen decay? You start forgetting the last time you felt truly like yourself. Not the you people expect. Not the version that still performs tasks, but the core you, the fire you, and that loss. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It just sighs like a light bulb that flickers for weeks before it goes out. The mirror becomes uncomfortable. Not because you look bad, you look fine, but because something's missing in your eyes. The texture behind them, the depth, the pull. There's a hollowness there now, a silence. It's not sadness exactly. Sadness is sharp. Sadness cries and aches and reaches out. This is numbness, and it doesn't want anything. It simply exists. Like dust in a locked room, you stop looking forward to things. Even the things you once loved. Even the things that used to make you feel most alive. And yet you don't panic. You don't scream. You just go quiet. That's the trick. When you're marked, it doesn't always come as fire and thunder. Sometimes it comes like water on stone. Persistent, patient, deadly. You might start to pull away from people, not because they've hurt you, not even because you want to, but because the part of you that used to reach out, connect, engage, is tired. And tired things withdraw. Your texts become shorter. Your presence becomes thinner. Still go to the party, but feel like a ghost among the living. You smile at the right moments. You laugh when everyone else laughs. But you feel like an actor who's memorized their lines without believing the script anymore. And here's the cruelest part. People rarely notice, at least not at first, because we're trained to respond to extremes, tears, outbursts, breakdowns. But what happens when the descent is subtle? When the light fades quietly? What happens when someone is vanishing in plain sight and no one can see it? Sometimes the only thing you can do is notice it yourself. Name it. Speak to it. Ask, when did I stop feeling full? What have I been leaking? Where did I go? The answer might not come in words. It might come in sensation. In memory. In the ache that reminds you there used to be more color in the world. Being marked doesn't always mean you've been cursed. Sometimes it means you've been drained. Slowly. Silently. Not by one thing, but by 1,000 small concessions. 1,000 invisible hands pulling thread after thread from your soul until you are still standing, still smiling, still functioning, but no longer shining. But here's the truth. Light isn't lost. It's buried, dimmed, hidden beneath the residue of what has tried to consume you, and even the faintest ember remembers how to burn. Your job isn't to ignite it all at once. Your job is to stop the leak, to notice the erosion, to reclaim the light slowly, because you weren't meant to fade. You were meant to glow. You attract the wrong energies again and again. Asterisk, asterisk, it starts with a glance, a conversation, a spark that feels too strong, too soon, but you don't question it, because it doesn't feel bad. First, it feels magnetic, cosmic, like fate. Got impatient and shoved someone into your path? But magnetism isn't always a sign of alignment. Sometimes it's a sign of entanglement, of unfinished shadows trying to recognize themselves in yours. People begin to show up. And not just any one specific kinds. People who are charming but hollow, needy but never nurturing, intense but only in flashes. They want your attention, your story, your spark. They're drawn to you, but not for you. It's not for your heart, not for your truth. They come for the signal. Because when you're marked, it's not just visible to the world of light, it's heard in the dark. It's in the way you listen, the way you see too deeply, too fast, the way your presence feels like permission, like sanctuary, like a place where broken things believe they'll be healed. But not all who seek healing want to change. Some come only to feed on your light, on your softness. It's on the way you stay open. Even after they've taken more than they gave, they tell you it's fate. You feel it too, like gravity in your chest. But over time, the pull becomes a weight. Their love becomes a leash. Their wounds become your responsibility. You try to hold space for them, to understand them, to stay soft even when it hurts. But slowly, you start to feel smaller, dimmer, used. And when they leave, because they always do, they don't say thank you. They just disappear, and you're left with less than you started. And it's not just lovers. It's friends, bosses, mentors, strangers, anyone who sees what you're not even aware you're offering, people who cling, people who demand, people who mirror your needs until you start confusing their reflection for your own intuition. It happens enough times. You start asking the hard question, why do I keep attracting this? But here's the truth. Not everyone who finds you is meant to. But when you've been marked, something in your energy goes loud. Not in decibels, but in frequency. Like a beacon lit in a spiritual language you never meant to speak. A song, sung in your sleep. A call made without your consent. And energy always responds to a call, especially the ones you don't know you made. Maybe it was a season of heartbreak that fractured your aura. Maybe it was a trauma that carved its name into your subconscious. Maybe it was grief, loneliness, burnout, something that left an opening, something that said, here, enter here. I don't know how to say no yet, because being marked doesn't always look like possession or curses. Sometimes it looks like patterns, attracting the same kind of takers. Liars, projectors, manipulators, over and over again, each one wearing a new face, each one arriving with a new reason, each one feeding on a part of you that's still unguarded, and you start to blame yourself. You wonder if you're weak, if you have poor judgment, if you're cursed. But the deeper truth is this. You've become a mirror, reflecting what others need, not what you are. Because when you're marked, people don't always see you. They see what they want. They see what's been awakened in them by simply standing in your energy, and too often they reach for it. Not to honor it, but to possess it. You begin to dread new connections. Because even when they start beautifully, they don't end well. You watch red flags wave in the distance, but convince yourself they're just shadows. Because charm can be warm, and fire can feel like safety until it burns. Eventually, you become cautious. Maybe too cautious. You start holding your light closer to the chest. Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt. Start pulling back before they can even reach you, because you've learned some people don't want to know you. They want to use you as a vessel for their story, their healing, their drama, their need. And when they've taken what they came for, they don't leave a mess. They leave a silence. A weight, and still, you're left asking, what did I signal? What did they hear in me? How do I stop attracting this? The answer is painful, but freeing. You stop answering what you never meant to call. You close the frequency that's been playing. In the background of your energy, you call your power back from every person who didn't deserve it. You stop being available to everything that recognizes your wounds, but not your worth. You clear the signal, not by going hard or cold or cruel, but by becoming sovereign. Because being marked may have made you visible, but being aware makes you powerful. And once you see the pattern, you can unweave it. You can shift the magnet. You can rewrite the call, not to silence yourself, but to make sure only those with clean hands and clear hearts ever hear it again. You feel watched, but you can't prove it. Asterisk, asterisk, it starts with a prickle on the back of your neck, stillness in the room that doesn't belong to you. You brush it off. Drafts, nerves, imagination. You've got reasons, rational ones. Until the feeling shows up again and again. And then it never leaves. It's not a presence you can name. Not one you can describe to anyone without sounding paranoid. Because nothing moves. Nothing knocks. No breathing. No footsteps. But something is there. You feel it. It's like eyes on your skin from nowhere in particular. Like a thought that didn't start in your own mind. You avoid looking in mirrors too long. They feel like invitations now. Not reflections, but thresholds. When you catch your own eye, part of you wonders, what else is looking through with me? You turn lights on in rooms you're not in. You keep your back to the wall more often. You start noticing corners, doorways, shadows where no shadows should be, and silence. That used to be peaceful now carries weight, like someone is holding their breath with you, not beside you. Round you, you tell yourself it's nothing. Stress, sleep deprivation. Your own anxiety looped back on itself, but the knowing grows. Not in your mind, in your body. In the tension in your shoulders. In the way you hesitate before turning your back to the room because something's changed. You used to feel alone. Now you don't. And that should be comforting, but it isn't. There's no name for what you're experiencing. But the signs are consistent. A flicker at the edge of your vision that never resolves. A whisper of static in your ears when everything's still. A pull to stare into nothing for too long. A sense that something is just about to make itself known, but never does. It never escalates, never crosses a line. It waits. That's the part that truly unnerves you. Because this isn't like being haunted. It's like being monitored. Like you're under quiet surveillance by a presence that doesn't need eyes or a body to see you. It doesn't need to be in the room. It already is in ways you can't comprehend. You try cleansing. Prayers, smoke, salt, words of power past. Down through cultures or whispered through forums at 3 a.m., sometimes they work. The air clears, the pressure lifts. You sleep for a night without interruption, but only for a night. It always returns. Not angry, not loud, just watching. Eventually, you stop looking for proof. You stop needing someone else to validate the feeling, because deep down, you know, something was left open. A door, a channel, a frequency. And something not necessarily evil, but not benign either, stepped through. Not to attack, not to possess, but to observe. And maybe it's worse. Because attacks you can defend against, possession you can fight. But what do you do with a watcher? What do you do with a gaze that never blinks, never speaks, never moves? You adapt. You learn to live with it. You don't like it, but it becomes part of your environment. A new layer to reality. And still, questions fester. Why me? Why now? What did I do? This is not punishment. It's not even personal, not in the way. You think, this is what happens when you touch things you didn't fully understand, when you seek answers in places that echo back. When your pain, your hunger, your curiosity sends out a signal and something ancient and awake answers. Being watched isn't always about being wanted. Sometimes it's just the cost of being noticed. Noticed by something older than belief. Something that moves through dimensions the way we move through doors. Something that doesn't operate on fear or love or language. Just awareness. You were seen, not because of what you are, but because of what you opened. And now you're marked, not dramatically, not visibly, but enough. Enough that mirrors tilt. Enough that shadows shift. Enough that silence has begun to speak. And maybe, just maybe, you're changing too. You've stopped dismissing what you used to ignore. You trust your senses again, even when they scare you. You feel the fabric of the world thin in certain places. Know when not to speak, when to avert your eyes, when to close the door and say nothing more. You've become tuned, not paranoid. Aware. Because once you've been watched long enough, you learn to watch back. The truth is this. There are eyes that don't blink. There are presences that don't knock. And there are moments when the veil doesn't tear, it folds, just enough for something to lean through. See. You don't need to seek what marked you. It already knows where you are, and it's not waiting, it's watching. Asterisk, if these signs echo in your bones, it's not coincidence, it's recognition. Trust the pull, protect your light, and above all, close what you've opened before it steps through again.